Welcome to this explainer. I'm really pumped you're here, because today we are going to completely rewire how you think about sustainability. We hear words like eco-friendly or green tossed around all the time, right? But today we're diving way past the surface level. We're going to bust some major myths we've all been taught and look at the actual physical mechanics required to keep our economy and, our planet thriving.
So let's kick things off with a number that absolutely blew my mind: 1.7. Right now, humanity is consuming 1.7 planets worth of resources every single year. Just let that sink in for a second. Between the Paris Agreement in 2015 and COP26 in 2021 alone, the global economy consumed 70% more than the Earth can safely replenish. In just that tiny 6-year window, we pulled an extra 500 billion tons of virgin materials right out of the ground. We are literally operating in a massive mathematical deficit.
Which naturally brings us to a pretty heavy question. Are we treating the world like there's no tomorrow? Honestly, the short answer is yes. Our current consumption habit, it's an impossible equation, and it is driving us straight toward an ecological catastrophe. We've gotten really, really good at maximizing production and shareholder profit, but we've completely failed to account for the biodiversity loss and the environmental harm that comes with it. We're acting like resources are infinite, and, well, they're just not.
Section 1, the linear economy trap. Identifying our current failing system is the first step to fixing it.
The root of the whole problem is that we currently live in a linear economy. It goes like this. We take finite resources from the ground, we make stuff out of them, and then we just dispose of that stuff. It entirely relies on this fundamentally flawed idea of an end of life for a product. In this linear setup, as long as financial margins are growing, the environmental cost is mostly ignored. But contrast that with the circular economy. A circular economy is restorative and regenerative by design. There is literally no end of life. Instead, what the linear model just tosses aside as negative externalities, the circular model actually grabs and turns into valuable raw materials to power up other value-generating processes.
Section 2, beyond simple recycling.
We've all been kind of conditioned to think that if we just toss our plastic bottles into a blue bin, we're saving the world, right? But we need a much deeper systemic shift. To get there, we have to completely redefine a word we use every single day: waste. In a true circular economy, waste literally does not exist. It's not a real thing. It is defined simply as a flaw in linear design. It's absolutely not an inevitable part of living on this planet. In a circular system, the output of one process instantly becomes the input for another. It's a continuous loop.
Section 3, the 10 R's hierarchy.
So, how do we actually design a world without waste? We looked at this framework from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. It proves that true circularity isn't just a flat checklist of eco-friendly options. It's a strict ladder we have to climb. It breaks down into high, medium, and low priorities. The highest tier is all about smarter product use and manufacturing. The middle tier is about extending the lifespan of products and parts. And the absolute lowest tier? That's just finding a useful application for leftover materials. And spoiler alert, recycling is sitting right down there at the very bottom as a last resort. Let's unpack these tiers.
Let's start at the top with high circularity. Number 1 is refuse. This means abandoning the function entirely, like banning single-use plastic bags or just saying no to unnecessary packaging. Number 2 is rethink. This is about making product use way more intensive, like the sharing economy. Think about it. Why does everyone on the block need to own a power drill when you could just rent or share one? And number 3 is reduce. Increasing manufacturing efficiency so we just consume fewer materials right from the get-go. Because the absolute best way to handle waste is to intelligently design it out completely, so it's never even created in the first place.
But okay, what if a product simply has to be created? Then we drop to the medium circularity tier. Number 1 here is reuse, buying secondhand to pass a product to another consumer. 2 is repair, actually fixing that cracked phone screen instead of just rushing out to buy a new device. 3 is refurbish, taking an old product and restoring it up to modern standards. 4 is remanufacture, using old parts and brand new products right on the assembly line. And 5 is repurpose, taking discarded items and giving them a totally different job, like turning old car tires into playground swings. This whole tier is all about creatively extending a product's lifespan, which massively slows down our resource drain.
And that brings us to the bottom, low circularity. Here is where we finally find recycle, processing materials to get the same or often lower quality out of them. And right below that is recover, incinerating materials to at least capture some energy. Thinking of circularity as a ladder,
really clarifies why recycling is our absolute last line of defense. Because honestly, by the time you're recycling something, you've already lost all the immense energy, labor, and design value that originally went into making it. In a perfectly sustainable world, we only ever drop down to this bottom tier when the first 8 R's have been totally exhausted.
Section 4. Mastering resource loops.
Okay, we know the 10 R's, but how does this physically work in the real world? Well, there are 4 distinct sequential mechanics that actively pump life through a circular economy system. First, we have narrowing loops, which is essentially using fewer resources to achieve the exact same goal. Second is slowing loops, meaning we extend the life cycles of products through things like repair and reuse so they stay in the economy longer. Third is closing loops, which is maximizing material use cycles so absolutely nothing leaks out into a landfill. And fourth, regenerating loops, where we redistribute resources over and over to design brand new value. These 4 actions, they are the beating heart of sustainable resource management.
Section 5. A restorative future.
Ultimately, this whole shift isn't just about saving the planet, though, yeah, that is obviously crucial. It's also about how these loops create long-term, sustainable economic competitiveness for everybody. Consider this powerful insight from Walter Stale, a pioneer of the circular economy. The goods of today are the resources of tomorrow at yesterday's prices. That just hits the nail on the head and perfectly cements the paradigm shift. Circularity isn't some financial burden, it's an incredible economic advantage. By keeping materials in the loop, producers protect themselves from supply chain shocks, they dodge volatile raw material prices, and they unlock massive new business models. And keeping in mind that our global economy currently has a 91.4% circularity gap, there is an unbelievable amount of room for innovation.
We've covered a ton of ground today, moving from the broken linear model all the way up to the top of the 10 R's hierarchy. Remember, true sustainability doesn't start at the recycling bin. It starts at the design phase. It starts with refusing what we don't actually need and rethinking our entire relationship with the material world. So, I want to leave you with this provocative question to carry with you. Look around your life, your home, your workplace. What will you refuse to waste today? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time as we keep unpacking the fascinating systems that shape our world.